Hey, I'm Tawny Newsom, and you are listening to my favorite Star Trek podcast that is not my own intermittently available one, Greatest Trek.
My friends, the great experiment.
Down on the lower decks.
Hidden Trek.
Would you look at that?
The greatest Trek.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest Trek.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica. Big week, huh?
Big week. We always say it. It feels true this time.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be the end, but this might well be the end of Lower Decks that we finally made it to.
I stayed through the credits. I stayed through the last couple of, company logos.
Usually the company logos are the last thing, but I was like, maybe...
Yeah, if anyone could crash through the company logos, it's this show.
Yeah. And Sam Jackson will be there, inducting them into the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah. I had hoped for something like a 2-hour super show, but I think one thing that was clear after watching this a couple of times, I hope you had the chance to watch this a couple of times, was that this was a show like the show they're capable of making, which is to say a really great episode of Star Trek Lower Decks that in a lot of ways is not necessarily distinct from all the other great shows they've ever made. Sure.
I mean, let's not get too far into reviewing the episode before we recap the episode. But the lead time on animation being so long, it always seemed to me that they didn't get the heads up that this show was ending early enough to do anything specifically. But this doesn't feel like they didn't do anything. Like
it feels like they didn't.
Yeah. Also in TV, you kind of have to assume at the end of any given season that could be your last. So
right.
Writing a cliffhanger, unless you've gotten the order for the next season, is a risky maneuver. So, yeah, all that to say, a lot of mixed feelings just in terms of this show has left me wanting more, and most of the great art does.
You said it, Ben. I agree. I would rather be left wanting more than wanting less, or not at all.
Better to have loved and lost Star Trek Lower Decks, and this is probably our last opportunity to review an episode of it. What do you say we jump right in?
Until they come back for a movie event, which I hope happens. Let's discuss and celebrate the series finale of Star Trek Lower Decks at Season 5, Episode 10. It is called The New Next Generation.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
Did we just save the universe?
Unknown.
It's a 34-minute super show, Ben. Written by Mike McMahon.
Yeah, we get some Klingons right at the beginning. Relga and her Chitargwa. Is that what you would call this little beastie?
Love it. Yeah. Gotta be hard to have an animal with white fur on a Klingon ship, you know?
Ooh,
white fur specifically. It's always before Labor Day on a Klingon ship. Is that how it should be put? I don't know those rules.
I think is it after? I think it's after.
It's okay to wear white after Labor Day, right? Isn't that what the rule is?
I thought Serial Mom killed the person for wearing white shoes after Labor Day.
Right. Okay. So it's always not after Labor Day on a Klingon ship?
With regards to Memorial Day, it is an unknowable period in time, either before or after that, on a Klingon ship.
My point remains.
Yeah.
White-furred pets.
I think this is shocking. This heavily implies that there is somebody aboard who specializes in the maintenance of the coat of this Chitargwa.
Yeah.
Because, there's so much rust, there's so much slop from the gach table.
No sloppy steaks.
There's so many spilled tankards of blood wine.
I don't know about you, Ben, but this entire week after coming home from dog walks, I've had to hose off Ripley's feet. Not because it's rainy, not because it's dirty, but because of like the morning dew is sufficient enough to dirty up those paws.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here on the ship.
Yeah, it's brutal. And somebody on board this ship has staked their honor on keeping this coat lily white, and they're doing a great job.
What do you make of Relga not having a boob window? Does that convey an idea of like she's going to be taken seriously in a way that Lursa and Bator, I mean, were kind of, but in a little bit of a jokey way. Like, come on, Lursa and Bator, give me a break.
That is outrageous.
I stay keeping Lursa and Bator's boob windows in my most serious of thoughts. And yeah, I mean, like there are other women on this ship that have them.
Yeah.
So I feel like it might just be personal preference on Relga's part.
Hey, my honor is up here. Could be what she's thinking.
She's cranky. She wants shit to fight. She's really giving similar energy to the Klingons in Star Trek V, just kind of like spoiling for smoke.
Yeah.
And they get set upon by this angry red rift that we saw established in the previous episode. The quantum destructive force that has been forced specifically into this universe shows up right in front of them, and they have to kind of turn tail and run away from this thing. And I thought it was very interesting that one of the Klingons on the ship that gets taken out turns momentarily into a disco-style Klingon as their ship is overcome by the rift.
This isn't a joke. This is a teachable moment for the viewer in what the rift is going to be doing to things for the rest of the episode. I thought that was a great moment.
Yeah.
I also loved how laughable this was until it wasn't. Like, Relga and her fleet are like, what is this? Who cares? Until it's time to care. That the slowest buffalo gets got
Sure does.
on their way out of there.
Yeah. But Relga loves this. Like, this space anomaly is just what the doctor ordered as far as she's concerned.
Right.
And that is our cold open.
After the theme, we learn that Cerritos is underway after taking some time to do some repairs. And in the mess hall, we get confirmation that Dr. Katz and Shax are still very much an item.
Her name is Dr. Tahana.
Oh, did you? I didn't see anything that led me to believe super strongly that was the case.
Yeah? You think this is how she treats everyone?
Kind of.
A very horny item, they are.
Since we both have the afternoon off, want to play Sexy Treasure Island on the holodeck?
Only if I get to be Long John.
God, I love you.
And over in the lower decks booth next door, our group of characters is taking time to observe the difference in being lower deckers versus what they are right now, having a little bit of a higher station.
Yeah, and this is sort of right before what we saw at the end of the last episode. So, we're establishing the co-chief science officerness again of Tendi and Teal'c. They're talking about how half of all bopples are corbed, and that's important technobabble that everyone should know. I think you and I, as longtime Star Trek fans, knew that, but probably good to reestablish that for, the casual viewer.
Is there a saying about popples that this is in reference to?
Oh.
Popple being the toy that, you fold into a squishy ball, and then you unfold them, and the popple goes forth.
Oh, does it?
Popples are pals that pop out of pockets. Popples are pals that pop out of pockets.
Did you ever have a popple?
I've never heard of a popple.
Oh, God, I got to send you a link to a popple. Popples were very popular. Rutherford is boiling over here about his implant. This seems like an attitude unbecoming of a Rutherford as we know him.
Yeah.
He is really a live wire here. And
specifically cranky with Cerritos because the thing he has been frustrated with his implant is that it's not talking to the old girl the way he would like it to. He's really not himself. He is a very angry dude in a way that we're not used to.
Yeah.
The Cerritos systems are too old.
You love the Cerritos. Don't listen to him, girl. He didn't mean it.
Yes, I did.
I don't love that. I've come to depend on the positivity, the radical positivity of a Rutherford character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so unusual was it that for the first half of this episode, I was like trying to cast my memory back to earlier moments in the season and was like, is it possible that at some point we got a different Rutherford from a different universe and he doesn't realize it or something like that?
Yeah.
Like,
I also thought maybe this isn't him.
Anyways, this is when Boimler gets his iPad message from William Boimler, his transporter clone, and has his bed-shitting freak out. And then they go and tell the captain about what has been communicated to him, W/R/T, the destruction of the universe having been brought home to their universe specifically.
Ben, I believe this is a series wrap for Boimler Scream.
Cheer for Boimler Scream.
What a moment. God, I'll miss that scream.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
The Lower Deckers convene a McLaughlin group.
Issue 1.
In Freeman's ready room. And she's taking all of this news very seriously. And there is really no need for the Lower Deckers to pre-apologize for being too low of status to have brought this to her attention. She trusts them. And in doing that, she kind of expedites the story in a useful way.
Man, that is good captaining.
Yeah. Boimler and Mariner are going to be taking lead on figuring out this universe-threatening rift from the Cerritos' standpoint. And we cut over to the Bloodwine barge captained by Mach, who committed himself to this lifestyle with his brother at the end of his very special episode of Lower Decks this season.
Ben, of the two of us, I would say you have all the words. Would you say that this was a scow?
Ooh, you know, I was thinking about the word scow pretty recently. And junk. Like,
yeah, junk.
Both terms that seem like insults for boats, but also like freely
that's just
used.
Their name.
I mean, I don't know. Junk sounds bad.
I guess you can use scow if you are a scow.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't use it.
I mean, I guess we just did in sort of talking around the issue.
I think we should probably not use the J word or the S word.
I'm grateful that Wynde bleeps those out.
How about no?
She's leaving the conversation in because I think this can be teachable for FODs out there, and that's important.
Sure, this is a moment where two podcasters have a moment of growth because they learn that there's harm in calling a boat a junk or a scow.
It could just be that our lives are to create learnings for others. I just want to note how much I hate that fucking word and that usage. No one wants to say lesson anymore? Is there something wrong with lesson? Do I have to apologize for that too?
We're not going to use the L word either, Adam.
God damn it.
Would you look at that?
They're hanging out when Relka's fleet decloaks all around them. Pretty unpleasant surprise for these guys. And she explains that she is going to blame this rift and the destruction of one of her ships on them. This is just the pretext she needs to get them in deep trouble with the Klingon High Council.
She pops off a firefight, like they target the scow and open fire, not just Relga's ship, but the whole fleet. And Mach is ready to do that thing where if you're outnumbered, you just drive that ship into the bridge of the enemy ship and hope it blows big. But the thing is, Malor takes the controls from Mach here and instead steers them on out of there.
It's a little heartbreaking to hear a Klingon say it's not a good day to die.
Yeah. It would have been spectacular to see the scow go in.
That's just the end of the episode. We don't ever find out what happened with that rift, but we'll have to trust that the Lower Deckers took care of it.
It may have just been too hardcore. Like, I would have grieved their deaths.
Yeah.
I really like these brothers.
I do too. So they warp away, and back on the Cerritos, they are on like a conference call with Admiral Freeman and some Starfleet science people who are like, yeah, this rift thing is as bad as you think it is. And Cerritos is the ship that's closest enough to actually do something about it. You know, like we'd love to put the Enterprise on this one, but they're just too far away. And this Schrödinger field is expanding, and you're going to have to go through it. And it's going to do all kinds of fucky quantum shit to your ship.
Lower Decks has broken a lot of ground over its 5 seasons, but I can't remember ever seeing a FaceTime look like this. Like your search term would be Admiral, 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 Captain, or AAAC. If you ever wanted to watch something like this.
Right.
Very few times I can remember ever seeing this in Star Trek before.
Yeah, like the one comp I can think of is the episode Conspiracy when they reached the triumvirate of admirals back at Starfleet Command.
Timely reference there. Streaming show still available.
Yeah, all 3 of our Second Contact shows still streaming through the end of the year.
It is clear to everyone involved, Ben, it does not make a ton of sense for a Cali class to be involved at this level as kind of a first responder. Like, why not send the Enterprise was something evoked in this conversation. But the relationship between the Boimlers as being a reason for this to have happened is all the reason you need to order Cerritos to be the tip of the spear here.
I kept wondering if they were going to do something with him having taken that pad being part of why this is happening or something.
Yeah, there's nothing magical about the pad, though.
No.
Like you would think.
I mean, there are characters that do believe that there's something magical about the pad, Boimler being sort of one of those, but it is not like his fault that this is happening. It's just an issue of convenience.
Speaking of convenience, I kind of feel like pads should be available in most places, most bathrooms, just free of charge.
Yeah, pads and the other kind.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah. I think we're talking about rock and paper as the symbols. We're just little boys doing a Star Trek show.
We sure are. They have no gender assignment bathrooms at my son's preschool, and they make pads and a number of other things available in all of them, but also pretty clear which bathroom I'm supposed to go into. Because one has urinals.
I'm glad you were specific. I was about to give Wynde another editing opportunity there.
They have to change their shields.
Yeah.
Phillips is stressed about this. It's going to be a crush to get it done en route to the place they've got to go.
And it's only partial protection that this plan has offered, right? We can change the shields, but what's that going to do about the hull? Very little, turns out.
Very little. Mariner is pissed at Boimler for what his counterpart did. I mean, presumably Bradward would have done the same thing that William did had their roles been reversed, right? Like, you know, like while he didn't personally do this, I feel like her anger is justified toward him.
Yeah. We get scenes of engineering greatness as the crew snaps to, but that all gets interrupted by the wine scow on the doorstep here.
Yeah.
Get the brothers on screen, and Mach and Malor are arguing among themselves, and also a little bit with Freeman about what exactly they're doing there.
Because Mach doesn't want asylum, and Malor does. And so even though it's an emergency and they have to get to the rift as fast as possible, we do have time for another McLaughlin group.
Issue 2.
There's always time in Star Trek for another McLaughlin group.
It's interesting for how in the middle it puts Mariner as a character. Like, she's defensive and sort of responsible for what's going on with Mach and Malor, and Freeman's there to adjudicate. And her perspective is like, look, we kind of have a universe-threatening problem at the moment. I understand that this is also important, but like, let's just keep you in some quarters for a minute until we can deal with this other thing. And that ends up being the plan.
She's like doing like a automated phone message while you're on hold to them, basically.
Nobody puts me on hold! Your honor is very important to us. Please stay on hold or hit pound if you would like a callback.
Who wouldn't hit pound at a moment like that?
Edgelord freaks. Why isn't that the standard? It stays on hold by choice.
Yeah. I mean, you keep hitting 0. Sometimes that'll get you through.
Ugh. Yeah. So the top priority does not seem to be Mach and Malor until it becomes one when Relga rolls up on their ship and her fleet quickly surrounds Cerritos, and she's demanding the return of Mach and Malor. And Admiral Freeman blurps in to interrupt the conversation, and that's weird, right? He pops in there and goes, yeah, return him to Relga. That's my order as Admiral. And then he blurps away.
It's weird that he calls them patachs in the call.
Yeah.
You know, that's suspicious, but...
I mean, an order is an order, right?
Orders is orders. Shit is fucked up and weird, but that, you know, like, all we can assume is that shit is fucked up and weird because quantum realities are getting all swirly. So Freeman has no choice but to do the thing, and she sends Ransom to go get the prisoners, which they have suddenly become. And Kayshawn comes back with Mach, but Malor is nowhere to be found.
Malor is often depicted as the Lenny of the two brothers. Not given enough respect to be kind of the resourceful one, as the one uncaptured here.
He doesn't seem resourceful because he hasn't figured out how to connect the other strap on his overalls.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe that's just to throw you off the scent or something.
Why can't sensors pick him up? That's another weird aspect to this. Is all computing power going towards the defense of the ship?
Oh.
Going into the Red Rift?
Yeah, maybe.
I wondered if that's the reason why.
If it is explained, it is sped past in a way that I didn't pick up.
Yeah.
Freeman sends the details about how to reconfig shields to the Klingons.
I didn't like that choice. Did you?
I mean, it was, offering something potentially needed to an ally, but Relga, receives this shield update with very little grace because she starts licking shots at the Cerritos, and Freeman's like, all right, well, we're not going to give you prisoners then. We got to go deal with a rift. And they go right into the S field.
We need to score a lot of latinum fast.
Licensed businessmen.
This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. They will continue the voyage as we have begun.
The greatest trick.
Teelan's there to tell Freeman and the viewer that the deal with these Schrödinger possibility waves is that they're going to change what the ship looks like, but the crew themselves will be safe from harm. And
because of the shields.
Exactly. Yeah. So buckle up. And the very first thing that the Cerritos changes into is...
Don't say it.
It's an audio recap show, Ben, so I've got to say it's a one nacelle starship. It is so gross. I can't believe they didn't blur this out. Just dangling one nacelle like that. Oh.
I hate it when you're empty, but you're still heaving.
You can just feel your stomach walls collide.
Ugh.
Yeah, pretty bad. I love all of these transformations. The Klingon ship transforms into a barge of the dead.
Fun to see one.
Really great.
Yeah, they're traveling through this very dense, nebular type environment as Mariner and Mach go around the ship looking for Malor, and Teelan and Tendi are having increasingly hostile interpersonal squabbles as they try to science the ship through this extremely upsetting experience.
Raising your voice will not solve the problem.
Neither will doing nothing!
And Tendi steps away from a big argument with Teelan to try to talk to Rutherford, who has he and the Cerritos have essentially lost the spark in their relationship.
Yeah. Rutherford seems as angry as Red Rutherford was back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my head was going, was is it possible that due to his facial appliance, he's also being affected by the red wave in some way?
Right. Is there whatever the substance in the hull they talked about in his appliance, and therefore, like he's getting different versions of his own mind. It's not where they go, but Mariner and Ma'ach find Boimler in the navigation center where he's hosing down Matt and or Kamalu.
I love how Boimler is ordered by Freeman to go tend to the issues in navigation. And we cut to Matt and Kamalu's area of the ship because, like that's what they do. It was such a fun reminder that like that's their job. That's what this department is.
Cetacean Ops is navigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they think that Ma'ach is a bit of a snack. But he doesn't really get the whole like quantum realities thing. And when he finds out that there's a pad that Boimler has that might have information about where they can find Malor, he is the one that like decides that Boimler is to blame for all of this because he has like prior information about what's going on.
The ship gets changed again, Ben, this time to a Terran Empire ship, which is something that really excites Shax because he suddenly has available to him all kinds of weapon systems that he's never had before. Oh, until he doesn't.
Yeah, a little bit sus that Shax is so excited to have the tools of the fascist at his disposal all of a sudden, you know.
Very exciting. It's like playing an open world video game and suddenly like having an axe that is way more powerful than you deserve. Like, sure. Whoa, use it for good, I guess.
Yeah. They get attacked after the revelation that all of these fancy guns that the ISS Cerritos had won't be working. And Cerritos is dead in space.
We get a really fun observation here, right? As the ship is kind of floating unpowered, that the Cerritos is getting to change a bunch of times because fleet designs in the Federation, like they're iterative. They're always changing.
Right.
And the Klingon designs don't. And they haven't, clearly, over the decades of watching Star Trek. They're all basically the same design. Yeah. And I love how this kind of enshrined that trivia into this conversation.
They always want their ships to look like big, stupid birds.
It's a bit of a corn kernels as extra pips explanation, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, they did, like the Klingons did retire the D7 at some point.
Yeah, no D7s in this episode, unfortunately.
But yeah, with the Cerritos adrift, Ma'ach comes back onto the bridge and wants Freeman to discipline her purple boy because of what Boimler's alternate reality pad must be doing to everything. And he's like, this thing has like definitely got information about where my brother is in it. So once you've finished disciplining the purple boy, you got to give me that iPad. And Boimler busts it over his knee.
Boy, that thing was working for you. You're so handsome and cool.
Maybe the biggest moment in Boimler's character arc was this.
Yeah.
Like this is the moment he self-actualizes.
Yeah.
It's a huge moment.
And it's an act of getting mariners back and getting the ships back. And it kind of forces Ransom's hand because Ransom reveals that it is in fact him who hid Ma'ach's brother because he thought that there was something sus about the Admiral Freeman message being so abrupt and exactly what the Klingon captain was demanding. So he was like giving Carol Freeman cover and plausible deniability by kind of going rouge on this.
This is great number one-ing by him, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, not such great securitying by Shax and Kayshawn, because Kayshawn is immediately able to like reanalyze that message and reveal that it was just a forgery.
Yeah.
Jinza, when the truth was uncovered.
Not a great look for him. Kayshawn, the look, not great.
Romulan senator when the information was a fake.
It's a fake.
So it's great that they figured all that out, but how do they beat this bird of prey out there while they're dead in the water? Billups has an idea. He doesn't say it in the room, but he goes off to try to figure it out. And what Freeman does is work in coordination with this plan. She's able to withdraw the shield modifications that were granted to Relga's ship. While at the same time, we've got Ollie outside the ship on the hull, and she throws a rubber lightning bolt at Relga's ship that slaps against its bridge like a piece of lunch meat thrown at a windshield.
I kind of wished it had been like a number of rubbery lightning bolts, like hot dogs thrown at face.gif. But one big rubbery lightning bolt was funny.
I like that a lot, yeah.
And Relga's ship has just released a volley, and that, it hits at point blank against the lightning bolt and therefore takes her own shields out. And with shields down, the Klingons aboard turn into mindless proto-Klingons filled with rage.
Yeah, I was not expecting this callback to TNG. Yeah. Nicely done.
And who saw Targs as having evolved from clams?
I love the little sound of the clamshell hitting the floor of the bridge there.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So with this big win, the Cerritos changes again to a sovereign class.
Ooh. I guess I'll have to take it.
Sorry, that one I was able to keep down. I swallowed that one down, Ben.
I thought it looked good as a sovereign class.
I'm not a fan of the sovereign class. You know this. You've always known this.
Yeah, but like in this art style, didn't you think it looked a little bit better than normal?
Yes, I will agree with you there. We get a canoe class transformation, and a galaxy class, and a nebular class.
It was a real like cheers and jeers of Starfleet vessels as they fly closer and closer to the center of the nebula.
Did you hold your breath for a Pasteur in here?
Oh man, I was shocked that they didn't go with a Pasteur class. It's one of them. But they arrive back at their original form as they enter the nucleus, a Cali class, and everybody's like a little bit disappointed, but this is the moment that Rutherford turns the corner on the Cerritos. He realizes that there is no better ship than the Cali class for this. This is the most reconfigurable, re-engineerable kind of spaceship that's ever been made. He rips off his implant like a character in a movie about women's lib ripping off their bra and throwing it into a bonfire. And
good pull.
And starts shimoting isolinear chips right there in the middle of the warp core. And suddenly the ship is being fueled by interdimensionality itself.
When the show's theme song plays as Rutherford is getting to work here, it's not cheesy like when TNG played it the first time the Enterprise D saucer separated. It actually gave me chills. Like, it actually worked.
Yeah, it was good.
In this moment. This was great.
The greatest trick.
This episode really straddled an interesting line between comedy episode with lots of good jokes and like genuinely really fun and exciting action movie episode. It made me realize that they didn't do another like film parody episode this season.
Yeah, I did like those.
I liked those too, and I miss having one more of them. But I felt like this episode kind of served in that way to some extent.
There's a consequence to what Rutherford has done here. I mean, he's created this benefit with the power, but it's also split the Cerritos as we know it into two distinct Cerritos, which I guess is also the plural of Cerritos.
Dos Cerritos, to call back the beginning of the season.
The problem is, when you've got two crews working independently, there's this tension between them that makes no work possible to get done. They've got to somehow synchronize their decisions between the two ships and the two crews in order to reach the center of the rift. And they're able to do this.
Man, yeah, I was just watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and it's so much like how Kyle and Dorit, as both of their marriages fall apart, are like so much at odds, while their husbands are so much together. Like, their husbands are more united now than they've ever been, Mauricio and PK. Meanwhile, Kyle and Dorit couldn't be further apart. And that's kind of what's going on between Tendi and Tila. They're like, why are we fighting? We need to unite against our common enemy, the Rift.
I didn't hear any of that, Ben, but I want to make sure that you're done.
Yeah, I think I got my point across. I was just saying, like, these two episodes really had a lot in common in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. This beam they shoot into the hoe, the gluonic beam, is what it's referred to as, doesn't work. It's not working. What are they going to do now?
You ever shoot gluonic and get told it didn't work, Adam?
Well, what happens here is they shoot gluonic and then they follow it up with a yellow beam, and that is the correct order of operations in most circumstances. Because Malor's on the bridge during the scene where they're like, what are we going to do? And Malor talks about dams and farming in a way that gives Mariner an idea that Mariner puts into action immediately. This yellow beam shoots into the hole, and this time the rift energy is contained. It's not destroyed. It's contained in a kind of gateway configuration. And now this hole is permanently open.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Mission accomplished.
What we have is a stable entry point to all other universes, much in the way that Deep Space Nine's wormhole was a stable opening to another quadrant. This is a stable opening to all of the universes that Star Trek has ever imagined.
The Jurati Borgs were busy. They can't protect this hole too. They're off on that other hole, the Picard hole.
They're standing sentinel on that hole.
Where they will not bother anyone. Just please stay over there. No one needs you right now.
We get a little passage of time. Mach gets put in charge of the remains of Relga's fleet since she's gone.
This feels just, right?
Yeah. Finally, Mach back where he deserves to be. They haul Starbase 80 over from wherever the fuck it was to be the Rift's Deep Space Nine because its systems are all old and janky and not subject to the, exotic particles coming out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a little bit of a reorg in Starfleet as they move personnel onto Starbase 80 to oversee a whole new form of exploration that Starfleet will be pursuing, which is exploring other universes. And it looks like Captain Freeman and Admiral Freeman are going to be stationed there. And therefore, Captain Freeman no longer going to be in command of the Cerritos.
I got such a Ben and his wife vibe from this moment because Freeman is excited for the opportunity, but Admiral Freeman very disappointed with arriving in this new place and what's going to be available to him.
Schlepping all the gear.
Yeah.
There's nobody here to carry my bags?
Yeah, it's not a Galaxy class, Dad.
But I'm an admiral.
So what, your arms don't work?
Finally, in the Cerritos mess hall, Rutherford has a big reveal. He's taken off the facial appliance, and Ben, he is beautiful.
Jeez. And he let down his hair? I have to confess something, Adam. I did have a bet, and I bet he could do it, but it almost ruined the whole thing when he found out about the bet.
My bet? Am I a bet? Am I a fucking bet?
I thought you were going to admit that it moved.
Rutherford woke up and chose Cerritos. He's back in love with the ship.
Speaking of love, Tendi has noticed this change in Rutherford's appearance. So much more attractive now. And T-Lin has noticed Tendi noticing Rutherford.
Yeah. Nice for this show to end on a message of, hey, if you could just not have your handicap anymore, you'd be a lot hotter.
Yeah. Yeah. Good choice that Rutherford makes here. He chooses beauty. Why isn't Mariner upset that her mom is gone? That's a question that gets asked at the booth. And what happens from here is a very Linus on the Peanuts Christmas special moment where she's almost spotlit for her monologue. And this moment is not cloying or saccharine the way Linus's speech is. It's sentimental, but just in the right way. We cut around to all these different departments in the ship as she's talking.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile in the background it's going da, 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 da. Da-da-da.
That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
It's befitting a series finale to get the quiet part said out loud by Mariner, our main character.
Yeah. Could have done without the Twains, but I overall thought this was a really touching final moment for her. We sort of like start this monologue in the bar, and then they've finished all of the frozen margs that she brought to the table and are heading to the bridge to start their shift as the monologue comes to a close. And as they walk out onto the bridge, she does admit that she also like pulled a like rock star in a hotel room freak out when she found her mom was leaving the ship. So it wasn't all stirring captain speeches from Mariner.
Burning a bed is such a classic move that I really do feel some envy for. Like, burning a bed, often a first strike move in a sports team winning a pennant, and so forth. Many a riot has featured a burning mattress. Like, God, that's got to be amazing. I'm not a pyro, I don't think, but man, just thinking about lighting a mattress on fire.
Yeah.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, like it just seems like a lot of material to watch burn if you could get it going, you know?
If you are somehow able to get those raw materials and light them on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, holy moly. Probably very stinky.
As she finishes this speech, Captain Ransom comes out onto the bridge with a broken half a pool cue and throws it on the floor in between Mariner and Boimler, because they are going to be co-first officers under consideration. And they are very, very worried that this is going to destroy their relationship in the next exciting season of Star Trek Lower Decks.
It could only be Ransom as captain, right? Yeah. I was trying to figure out who else it could possibly be. And I think what happens if it's anyone else is you take the moment away from Boimler and Mariner in a very distracting way.
Yeah, and the show. Like, you know, it crossed my mind that they could, like, super promote Harry Kim to it, you know, because they have so many to go around.
But that's also destructive in the way that you're describing.
Yeah, I loved that it was Ransom.
Yeah, he deserves it. He's good.
And Engage the Core is like a perfect joke for Ransom to end the show on.
I wonder how long that was chambered.
God, it was so fucking good.
The moment it's established that Ransom is a gym rat and it's his obsession, I bet that's in the back pocket. I bet that's on the whiteboard for the entire series. Like, when's he going to say it? Perfect opportunity, perfect moment.
Really tremendous. Did you like this episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, Adam?
She'll always bring it home.
I really did, because it had all of the ingredients that you need for a series finale. Like, the stakes of the thing are high in a way that feel appropriate for a Star Trek show. It is, once again, a new Star Trek series that hinges on a moment where the universe is put at risk. But it somehow doesn't feel... It doesn't feel like the rest of the series in that way.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain why, but I think the success and the way that the crew works to solve the problem and fix the problem is so satisfying, because they all work together. They draw from callbacks from this season and in past seasons in order to make it right. You get that moment at the end, that monologue that like makes us feel the power of the show and its loss in the culture in a way that felt appropriate and good, and not a look at me, look at us, we were here, we were important kind of way, but in a way that feels like real and lived in and appropriate for the characters involved. That stuff isn't easy to do without coming off as self-important or too sugary and cheesy. Like, I really feel like they stuck the landing with tone. And I think you could solve the mission and save the universe and miss it on tone and blow this episode. Like, yeah. I'm arguing that the tone was more important than the resolution of the big bad guy throughout the season. So Yeah, I thought it was a great episode and a great conclusion to the series. What about you?
I agree. Yeah, like I'd say that the only thing that like slightly dulls that for me is that I thought that season 5, episode 9 last week was so funny and such a high watermark in terms of like the funniness and the big adventureness of it.
Yeah.
That this one didn't quite hit at that level, but it was so close.
This is almost like Conspiracy being the episode before the neutral zone in season 1 of TNG. Like there's almost that kind of choice being made here. Like, yeah, we're going to be as funny as possible in the penultimate episode because we really do have to do serious business
right
in the finale.
There's a lot to wrap up. And like, you know, it's so interesting to think about them writing this as both table setting for a potential next season and not.
Yeah.
And having to kind of satisfy both masters in finishing this. So with like the incredible difficulty of that, I think they did a really nice job.
Well put. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the people that made this show go on to do next. Like they've made a fan of me.
Absolutely.
Of, you know, the Mike McMahons and the Titmouses and the casts of this show of the world.
Yeah, you got to start watching The Boys.
I guess so. God fucking damn it.
As an enthusiast of heads exploding, Ben, you're going to love it.
Well, you want to see if there's anything we love in the Priority 1 inbox, Adam?
Always love what we find in there.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
This P1 is of a promotional nature, and it goes like this. In the Alien episode of the film festival, Adam revealed he's done 48-hour film projects. Therefore, I must now make a terrible investment, because as he surely knows, there's no money in these things. By promoting my own 48-hour team, Gaff Tape and a Prayer. Like sci-fi? Try our short Veronica at Home. Play D&D like Ben? Watch Initiative. P.S. In my friend Mac's prior P1, you assume we must be Kiwis since we watch Trek on Wednesdays. Untrue. We're just dumb Americans who are bad at scheduling. Oh man, dumb Americans after my own heart.
They should vote you president of their club.
So FODs, search for the YouTube channel Gaff Tape and a Prayer. It's all you really need to make a film. And Big Rod, renew Lower Decks, you cowards!
Gaff Tape and a Prayer. What a nice name for what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that.
I talked fondly about my experience with the 48-hour film festival, but that's one of those things that I love doing that I will never do again. What a fun nightmare that was.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that about the entire film business. Like,
yeah.
I was in traffic this morning and there was a car in front of me with a bumper sticker that said Dolly Grips can shove it. And I was delighted.
Great.
I was delighted by the like industry specificity of that bumper sticker. But then I was like, oh man, remember being on a set and being like a PA and the Dolly Grips were like making me help them level a bunch of track going over 50 yards so that they could get a shot that would last 2 seconds in this music video. Don't miss that.
God, I don't know, but like in the hierarchy of stuff that you do, I really liked the problem solving of that versus like standing completely still and watching the 8th take in silence. You know, like I like the productivity of the creation of the thing in order to make the world work.
Yeah,
but man,
that's true.
I did love pushing Dolly also. That was fun when you got the chance to do that.
Indeed. Well, check out Gaff Tape and a Prayer. It sounds like they got some cool films.
Ben, we got a promotional message here from Nancy. Here's how that goes. In the wake of the election, I have decided that a way to resist a tide of anger and unkindness is to spread joy to others. So I have decided to buy a promotional P1 to help Adam and Ben because your shows bring me such happiness. And I want to return the favor in a small way. I am so grateful that you're willing to put in the time and the work into a show that I and so many other FODs have gained hundreds and hundreds of hours of enjoyment from. So
oh my God.
The big takeaway here is be grateful for what brings you joy. And a really nice message from Nancy there.
Very kind, Nancy.
Reminding us all to appreciate what you have while you have it.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Hundreds. Yeah.
Jesus.
I think we might be near 1,000 hours at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is episode 305 of this show, and we're in the mid 500s or something on our other Star Trek show. So
yeah. And don't forget that other show we did for a while. That's 100 and some episodes.
Yeah, but that's not Joy.
And Wholesome.
Yeah.
The Hit Other podcast.
The Hit Other podcast that isn't about anything specific.
Yeah. Hey, padding our numbers. Pretty great.
Wow. Well, thank you, Nancy, for the very kind and generous promotional P1. And thanks to everyone who gets a P1. It is MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron to set one of those up. Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin! I'm going to make mine Malor. I think that moment on the bridge where Lenny's not dumb. Lenny's smart in his own way. Lenny's got good ideas. Pretty great. Malor saves the day, doesn't he? Make a dam. That's what we do on the farms. That's his big idea.
It was an irrigation-based solution that they needed the entire time.
I loved it. Hero turn for Malor. I mean, it makes him... I don't think he's first officer on Mach's ship when Mach gets the fleet, but he's on the ring there. He's on the bridge. Yeah. He's in a place of importance.
He does just let himself onto the bridge at some point, which seems like he shouldn't be able to.
Would you want to be on the same ship, or would you want a different ship even if it was smaller? I would want the second one every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there's no independence there for the brothers. I would hate that if I were Malor. Watch your back, Mach.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you, Ben?
Maybe next season, Adam.
We'll have to wait and see. Tune in. Uh-oh.
My Edward Larkin for this episode is going to be Shax for that Charlie Brown moment of getting so excited about all of the cool weapons he suddenly has at his fingertips, only to have them snatched away from him.
Great restraint from doing a Deus Ex Machina here, like by making the ship powerful enough to destroy its enemy in that moment. And not
great restraint from doing a Deus Ex Machina by having Ma'ach just solve all the problems.
God, so good. Excellent, Ben.
The way we end every episode of Greatest Trek is with a warning bois.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
This one is a message that I think was left on our Facebook page of The Greatest Generation. This was from Ice Young. I'm not sure if that's a name.
What happened in there?
It's HCMMC. Ice Young.
Okay.
I recently lost my father after a long battle of taking care of him. I wanted to still feel his presence and honor him. He was such a huge Star Trek fan and was always trying to get me to watch TNG. I recently decided to dive in for the first time. I looked for a good podcast for the show and downloaded 5. This one out by far. The enjoyment of the show brings a touch of sadness to me for missing my pop, and these guys really help with that. It enriches my watch and brings joy to a difficult time in my life. It's like they're watching right along with me. Truly love this podcast. I'm on season 3 of TNG. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ice Munk. So sorry to hear about the passing of your father, but really appreciate the kind words about our show. Posted in a public way, and that's really the risk people take with a warning bois, is that you make yourself vulnerable a little bit by sharing an Uxbridge Shimoda show with the world, and we really appreciate folks that do it.
And as this person put it, I mean, ask any FOD, there is going to be a touch of sadness to the experience of enjoying this show that I think is understood by many, many folks.
Indeed.
So you're among friends.
Well, that is the end of our coverage of Lower Decks here on Greatest Trek, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a low power mode over the holidays, but we will still be releasing episodes, and Wynde will tell you a little bit about what to look forward to in the coming weeks on this show in the credits.
This season of Lower Decks was uniquely challenging for all of us. And if you like what happened on Greatest Trek, let Wynde know. Drop us a review if you can.
Indeed.
I think this season represented a great challenge that we rose to. So thanks to everyone involved.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much. And leave a nice review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can. That would help us a ton.
Yeah, we should maybe do that when we come to the end of a season or a series, like just kind of make that a good opportunity for folks.
Yeah.
If you like what we did here, let some people know about it.
Indeed. All right, take it away, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. The team at Uxbridge Shimoda is going to be taking a week off for the holidays, so no episode next week, but Ben and Adam will be back on the first Friday of the new year with a Q&A episode featuring the Card Daddy himself, Bill Tilley. In the meantime, a big thank you to all the Max Fund members who have supported this show financially this year. If you want to pitch in and help support the pod, it's quick and easy to set up a membership, and you will get instant access to so much great bonus content. The place to do that is MaximumFun.org/join, and we really appreciate your support. Thanks to Nick Ditmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusea, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for all their work on the @GreatestTrek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag #GreatestTrek when you post about the show. We're also on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed over there, and merch is available at podshop.biz. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.